This is not a tough invitation. I love businesses that make a lot of money and that have interesting people and occasionally buy me dinner. First of all, our table here, okay, I think we found close to $3 billion of additional revenue by 2013. So between Francisco, Naveed, where's Anthony? You guys are covered because we got it done for you. I want to just talk about a couple of things, and we can talk about ICG, and when I say I want to talk about a couple of things, I mean literally for 5 or 10 minutes, but I'd much rather talk to you all and hear what you want to yak about. The first thing is, when I think about GTS, I wrote basically 3 words down. I tell the truth. The first thing I think about with GTS is performance. And what I mean by that is, one, obviously the financial performance. Month in, month out, quarter in, quarter out, difficult times with 0 interest rates, or better times, you all produce, either on the top line, the way you did in 08, or the way you took 09 and that challenge of basically a more steady top line, but you brought it down into the bottom line because of all the things that you did in rethinking your business. So financial. The second thing I think about is the clients. And I think of it that way when I'm lucky enough to be on the email traffic that shows wins. And I like wins a lot. There's only one thing I like even better: takeaways. And there's only one thing I like about takeaways is when they're taken away from 1 or 2 of my dearest friends whose offices are uptown in Manhattan. But wins and takeaways are important, not just because of the revenue line that's expressed in the financials, but because what it shows is 2 things. One, well, it shows more than 2 things. One, you identified the target. That's half the battle, knowing where you want to be. Secondly, you competed. One, in order to get into the race, and secondly, to win the mandate. And third, you distinguish the organization with a client because they awarded you a piece of business. That means that they have changed in some small or large way their perception of our organization. You have influenced their thought process in a positive way about how they look at our entire firm. And if it's a takeaway, then you get the benefit of not just influencing us in a different way, but also influencing their thought process about somebody else. It's critically important. And that's why I pay a lot of attention to that. And then lastly, pipeline. Pipeline to me, again, can be expressed in revenue terms going out, and I do spend a fair amount of time watching how we go from win to implementation. And I keep on bugging Francesco all the time, are we down to 31 days or 16 days, and all of these types of things, depending upon the product in the area. But pipeline also tells me, how are you managing your successes? Are you turning them into other opportunities? Because at the end of the day, that's what a pipeline's about. Are you extending your product and or your implementation into a client in other areas? Are you taking something that was innovative at one client and putting it into another client? That's what pipeline is about, is that you have taken wins and developed new business on the back of it. Lastly, performance is talent. Part of what you all are doing here is about talent development. But there's not a part of the organization that is as focused on the development of their people. And look at the results that it's created. Just not, again, the financials. Just not, again, the client relationships and being able to deal with complexity and everything else, but in the continuous development of the leadership to constantly redefine the business. The second is strategy. If I think about the strategy of Citi, if I think about the strategy of ICG, and then I think about GTS, it's all one and the same. The first is clients. I would argue that ICG is a client-focused organization. And within ICG, GTS is a client-centric organization. Sounds like a subtlety? It's not. There's a huge gap. And many parts of the organization are going to catch up to where you all are in your client strategy and that centricity. Secondly is innovation. And you all are going to spend time on that and making sure that best practices across the world are coordinated. But innovation is key. And it's even more important as the world becomes smaller, because ideas have a shorter shelf life, and so you better be on top of your game as far as innovation. And you all have recognized that very early on and always paid special attention to that. The third is globality. I don't know if that's a word or not, but we'll use it tonight. You all define it. So whether it's 109 countries or 140 countries or city for cities or whatever it is, you all define what is at the core of the Walter Wriston, John Reed model. And that was a global bank. And you all are at the core of that. And lastly, everybody has talked about services and how we want to diversify in order to continue to add value to our company. There is a benchmark out there to have it represent a third of our company. Seems like a perfectly good benchmark for September 14th, 2010. But it is obviously, as you see the world and as you see the needs of our clients, the whole services component of our organization, not only is it going to continue to grow, it will be continued to be redefined. And thus why talent and innovation and that ability to talk with clients at a level of introspection on their part and have you help them think about that is going to be extraordinarily important as we develop. Third is challenges. That's what I think about when I think about GTS. As I mentioned before, yeah, we've had good times when interest rates were friendly, and you saw it in the top line, and there was all kinds of activity, and you all took advantage of that. And yes, you saw when interest rates went to zero, and we do have those headwinds. And you did what you needed to do in order to adjust and bring that to the bottom line. What are the challenges going forward? As an organization, and I would say in GTS as well, the emerging markets is obviously a key strength and pillar which differentiates this organization. We have not made the most of it. And I challenge you to do that. Be the generation of leadership in this company to make the most of our EM capabilities which differentiate this organization. And I will state that to me, the best way to do that and the only way to do that is to make sure that our EM to EM capabilities are as strong and vibrant as are developed into EM. And if we take a good hard look at ourselves, we can all say that they are not. And so that is a challenge. And I believe that as we discussed at our table, and you think about intra-regional flows and you think about the way we do business today, and you think about the champions of the future and all of those things, our capability to execute for our clients in this mode is critically important. A big part of that challenge is, are we truly globally coordinated? And I would answer that the question is yes and no. Yes, in that everybody wants to. I think the days of bad behavior, the days of silos, the days of all those things, I think they're long gone. Partly because you all never wanted it in the first place. It was just a bunch of other people that had political agendas and everything else. But you all were the ones that were always running the businesses. And so now that the agendas are over, it's an easier environment. And we talked about that at our table and outside before. And so that is one of the challenges, because to me, it's not whether it's happening, because I can see it is. It's the speed at which you wish to execute on it. And I'm in the frame of mind of executing yesterday. So that is the second challenge. This is the leadership group. This is your firm. As we were saying earlier, there are no more excuses. There's no more crisis. We have everything that it takes to become the preeminent global bank. If we don't do it, it's our fault. We have a magnificent legacy. We have all the talent in the world. We have all the capabilities in the world. And so that's the challenge that not only do I put out to you all, but I put out to all of ICG. A couple of things, and then I want to stop and really hopefully get into a dialogue. If I think about ICG, there are many similarities as far as sort of the long-term focus. Obviously, it's the client. And I can describe this as I am extraordinarily focused on distribution. That's an inappropriate word because it really doesn't cover the breadth of the issue. But it's the client relationship management. It's the product and content that we have. It's an organizational structure to make sure that it's seamless across all of the various geographies and asset classes and products and services that we have. It is a measurement system. It is a communication system. So it is all of these things to make sure that we are a world-class, client-driven organization. Because unless you have that, you cannot be successfully client-centric. And so I'm spending a tremendous amount of time, and Steve Mandis is helping me think through that because of his experiences elsewhere. Secondly, services. That's the business that you all are in. There are lots of other ones out there. And I think the announcement today with having Paul really take a good hard look with all of you and with our friends in the consumer business and try and really figure out how to garner this multi-billion-dollar opportunity between the business community and the consumer world. Again, we have what it takes. Let's get focused, let's put investment in it, and let's get it done.